What? Well, you're American, okay? Okay. What kind of American are you?
A war can destroy a country's political, economic, and emotional state for centuries. The Chinese Civil War, Korean War, and Vietnam War are prime examples of how a civil war can change the lives of millions of people overnight. On this note today, we will be talking about Civil War, written and directed by Academy-nominated Alex Garland, known for his movies like Annihilation, Ex Machina, and 28 Days Later, and produced by A24. The film, starring Kirsten Dunst, Kaylee Spaney, Nick Offerman, and Wagner Moura in pivotal roles, shows the ethics of photojournalism in the backdrop of an ongoing civil war. So let's get into the video and find out what this movie is all about and why you should go out and watch it in theaters. Let's go.
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
You serious? The United States are vaporized. They shoot us on sight in the Capitol.
I've never been
A falling world. In the near future, a civil war is thriving in the USA under the leadership of a dictator president played by Nick Offerman, who has been serving his third term. Prior to this war, the country was divided into 4 different divisions: Loyalist States, Western Forces, Florida Alliance, and New People's Army. The movie introduces Lee, played by an excellent Kirsten Dunst, an award-winning, celebrated photojournalist living in New York. But she suffers from PTSD because of the situations she faces daily, clicking photos of murders, bombings, and war crimes. During one such event, Lee meets a young journalist, Jessie, played by Kaylee Spaney, in the middle of a protest, where she was rescued from a bomb blast. In their workspace, Lee and 2 of her co-workers, Joel, Wagner Moura, and Sammy, Stephen McKinley, make plans to travel all the way to Washington City for an exclusive interview before the 4th of July, the president, regarding his views and his political agendas regarding this ongoing war. But on their way to this extremely dangerous road trip, Jessie, who was saved by Lee during the bombing, meets Lee in the hotel lobby and thanks her for saving her life the other day. She also mentions that how big of a fan she is of her. But then when the trio were boarding their car, Lee found out that her co-worker Joel had invited Jessie to tag along with them to DC. Furious with the idea of taking a young girl on this journey initially, Lee gets really angry with Joel, but later agrees to take Jessie with them. On their way, they get to see the aftermath of this war and how it has turned the entire country into a place of terror. The roads are empty, and the constant fight of the US military with the rebel groups has destroyed the lives of millions. After driving for a few miles, they stop at a gas station, but to their surprise, the rebel groups have captured the gas station. But Joel and Lee plan to talk it out with the men and get permission to fill the gas. Lee tries to talk to an old man with a firearm in his hands. While she was trying to bargain with a man, Jessie got out of the car and went to the station's backyard. A young man who is also holding a huge gun in his hand follows Jessie. Lee sees this and she also follows them. Jessie sees 2 men covered in blood and chained up in the backyard. The young man tries to intimidate her by firing bullets into the hanging bodies. Lee gets Jessie and they drive off to the place as soon as possible. When they stop in the middle of nowhere, Jessie asks Lee if she hates her for coming along with them. Lee tells her that she is not angry or hates her for coming with them, but she is rather concerned about her. Being a young and aspiring journalist, she doesn't understand the gravity of the situation and how tough it is to survive while working as a photojournalist. Their job demands them to be really strong, and they can't back off from any kind of situation. Jessie asks if she gets killed in the middle of this journey and if she is going to click her photos, to which Lee replies that she will. 4 of them encounter a battle between the military and the rebel groups. Jessie gets really excited when she witnesses her first ever frontline war, but Lee and Joel protect her from getting killed and become her mentors during the battle. They click a few photos of the fight and move on from that place. They meet a group of refugees living in a stadium and spend a night there with the people. After miles of deserted cities and capturing the deaths of hundreds of soldiers, they reached a city where the people seemed to be undisturbed by the ongoing civil war. For the first time, they witnessed people living their normal lives in this city. They get into a store and Joel asks the girl if she knows about what's happening in the country. She reluctantly replies to him that yes, she has seen it on the news and it's in their best interest. Surprised by her answer, Joel, Lee, and Jessie try on some clothes to have a fun time and leave the city. On their way, they meet 2 snipers lying on the ground with their guns targeting their prey. When Joel tries to ask one of them who they are fighting for, he replied to him that he was just trying to kill the men who were after him and there was no other way to survive this war. Jessie clicks a few pictures of the sniper and they leave the place. While driving, Lee noticed a car trying to follow them, but later she realized that they were Tony and Bohai, their colleagues from Hong Kong who were following them. 6 of them later encounter a group of extremist soldiers in an abandoned farm who are killing innocent civilians and burying them in the ground for their revenge on their enemies. The soldiers captured Jesse and Bohai. Joel proposes to the team to meet the soldiers and asks them to let go of Jesse and Bohai, to which Sammy refuses and tells Joel that they should not get into their sight. If they do, those militant soldiers are going to kill them, but Lee, Joel, and Tony go out to speak to the soldiers and ask Sammy to stay hidden in the barn. While the soldiers were trying to kill Jesse and Bohai, the trio reached there and introduced themselves as journalists covering the news. But to their surprise, one of the soldiers kills Bohai instantly and then kills Tony when he gets to know about his nationality. While they're trying to kill Joel, Sammy drives into the soldiers and saves the 3 of them from getting killed. They drive the night through the forest and reach DC to realize that when Sammy was trying to rescue them, he got shot by the bullets fired by one of the militants. They accompany the US soldiers to their base camp to get into DC while the military battles with the rebels. Jesse tries to capture as many photographs as possible, but Lee gets a PTSD attack and Joel helps her to get through the situation, calming her down. Lee, Joel, and Jesse manage to get into the White House, but they find it empty. When the soldiers arrive at the building, they get to know that the president is hiding in the Oval Office. The trio follows the officers and captures some powerful images in their lenses while they fight with the militants. While capturing a photo, Lee gets killed, saving Jessica, and she captures the death of her idol. The military finds the president in the Oval Office and pins him down with their guns. Joel asks him his last question while Jessica captures the frames in her camera. Marvelous verdict. If you're familiar with the work of Garland, you must know his sense of writing unique stories, be it a story of self-destruction and annihilation or an AI with moral ambiguity and ex machina. His stories show us the problems of the contemporary world in a different setup. Similarly, he is somewhere trying to show the current political scenario of the world in a dystopian setup where corruption and the hunger for power have given birth to one of the worst civil wars in American soil. This film also tries to portray the ethics of journalism and questions its relevance in society. The group of journalists in the film is not just witnessing the war or capturing photos for their respective publications. They are also in the war zone fighting the war. They are equally involved in the war with the military. They have their own agendas amid the war. Joel wants to interview the president, while Lee is a celebrated photojournalist who has a ravishing career but suffers from PTSD after her continuous stint in the war zone. And Jessica is a young and budding photographer who wants to achieve success in the field. The movie is primarily about what they encounter, with each encounter offering insight into what a potential civil war could look like in modern America in the future. This movie has been getting a lot of praise for Kirsten Dunst for a brilliant performance and sound design. This dystopian war drama lacks an in-depth story, which could have made it a better movie. The 4 groups fighting with each other don't have any ideological values or what they represent. The movie takes us into the war zone without preparing us for the forthcoming wars and the blasts that we are about to witness in the film. This movie has become a controversial topic among viewers for getting too political or showing America in a darker shade. Civil War is showing in theaters now. And that is it for today's video. We'll be back with more exciting movie reviews. Please let us know in the comments if you liked this video. Please like and subscribe for more exciting content in the future.